Today, we're diving into the absolutely wild journey of a single army regiment. I mean, this unit has been around for 200 years. Think about that. It served two different empires, swore allegiance to a brand new nation, and get this, it changed its name 10 times. This is really a story about survival, about how an institution can somehow hold on when everything around it gets completely swept away.
So, that really brings us to the big question, right? How on earth is that even possible? How does a single unit hold on to its identity when the flag it serves, the empire it represents, and yeah, even the name on its banner are constantly changing? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. So let's start at the very beginning.
Okay, so our story kicks off almost 200 years ago. And it doesn't start on some dusty battlefield. Nope, it begins in the bustling, chaotic port city of Bombay, all under the control of the British East India Company. This is where our regiment is born.
Now, to really get a feel for this time, you've got to understand what the Bombay Native Infantry was. These weren't your typical British troops. These were units made up of Indian soldiers, but they were led by British officers. They were basically the military muscle, the backbone of the East India Company's power in that part of the world.
And so it's right here, in 1825, that our unit is officially created. Its very first name, and believe me, you're going to want to keep track because there are a lot of them, is the 2nd Extra Battalion of Bombay Native Infantry. This is it. This is ground zero for a journey that's going to last 2 centuries.
But the regiment's early days in Bombay, well, that's not where it really found its soul. No, its famous character wouldn't come until it was tied to this rugged, super strategic region, Baluchistan. This is where a whole new identity was forged in fire, so to speak. I mean, just look at how fast things change. Only a year after it was created, boom, it gets a new name. But the real game changer happens in 1891. That's when it's totally remade, with soldiers mostly from Baluchistan. We're talking Baluchis, Brahuis, Pathans, and Punjabi Muslims. And you can see this huge shift right away in its name, which now officially has Baluchistan in it. Fast forward to 1903, and it's known as the 126th Baluchistan Infantry.
And you know what? This new identity even came with a brand new look. The uniform itself was a practical, kind of drab color, but it came with these awesome, striking, bright red trousers. Seriously, you could probably spot a soldier from this regiment from a mile away. It was this perfect visual sign of its unique character.
All right, so with this new identity locked in, the regiment's story just explodes onto the world stage. We're not talking about a local force anymore. Now it's a key piece of the British Empire's global machine, sent to fight in conflicts thousands of miles from home.
And its service record is, well, it's just staggering. You've got them fighting in the Anglo-Persian War back in the 1850s. Then they're sent all the way to China in 1900 for the Boxer Rebellion. And during World War I, they're all over the Middle East. We're talking Aden, Egypt, Mesopotamia. They were, without a doubt, a global force.
But everything it had been through, honestly, it paled in comparison to the test that was coming in the Second World War. During the Malayan campaign against the Japanese, the battalion was pushed right to the absolute brink. I mean, to the edge of complete annihilation.
Just look at this number for a second. 1,596. That's the total number of casualties the battalion suffered. That's men killed in action or lost during the absolutely brutal years in Japanese prisoner of war camps. The unit was, for all intents and purposes, completely wiped out.
And yet, even in that darkness, in that total defeat, you get these incredible stories of pure courage. Guys like Lieutenant Abrar Hussain became legends. While he was a prisoner of war, he was under intense pressure to switch sides, and he refused. His heroism was later recognized with a major award. It's really in moments like that where the true character of an institution comes shining through.
Okay, so after the absolute devastation of World War II, the world was a different place. The subcontinent was a different place. The British Empire was ending. And with the partition of India in 1947, our regiment was about to face its biggest identity shift yet, swearing allegiance to a brand new flag and a totally new nation.
I mean, you really have to think about what a huge transformation this was. The regiment went from being a unit in a colonial army, loyal to a king or queen thousands of miles away, to being a core part of a brand new national army. It wasn't a symbol of imperial reach anymore. It was a symbol of Pakistan's own national sovereignty.
And then, it was official. When Pakistan gained independence, the unit that was once part of the British Indian Army was formally allocated to the new Pakistan Army.
That moment marked the end of one massive chapter and the really dramatic start of a completely new one. And you know what? The legacy of service, it continued without missing a single beat. The battalion proved its worth all over again under its new flag, fighting with real distinction in the Kasur sector during the Indo-Pakistan War of 1965. So even though the flag was different and the commanders were different, that tradition of courage, that same spirit we saw in men like Abrar Hussain, that lived on.
All right, so let's pull all these threads together now and just look at this complete 200-year story of transformation. When you see it all laid out, it's a journey that's almost hard to wrap your head around.
This timeline really lays it all out. You can see the whole journey right here. It starts in 1825 as a Bombay Native Infantry unit, then you see its identity being forged in Baluchistan in the 1890s. Its incredible role in 2 world wars, the pivotal moment it's allocated to Pakistan in 47, all the way to its current name. Every single one of those names tells a chapter in this massive, unfolding story.
And that brings us all the way to today, because after 2 whole centuries of unbelievable change, the direct descendant of that very first unit raised back in 1825 is still an active duty battalion. It survived, it adapted, and it continues to serve.
Which brings us all the way back to that first question we asked. But maybe now we see it a little differently. What really holds an institution like this together? I mean, when the empire it was created for vanishes, when the flags it fights for are lowered for the last time, and when its own name changes over and over and over. Maybe survival isn't about refusing to change at all. Maybe it's about finding a thread of identity and carrying it through all that change. A thread of legacy, of courage, and of honor that, against all odds, just never breaks.